I think you're actually muted, Will. Will?
Uh, Happy
What was I
Friday.
made fun of?
Happy
What a way to
Friday.
start the show.
Happy Friday. What a great way to start. Thanks for joining us for Riff and Refine. I was about to make a joke about how I didn't take a giant bite of something this time before starting, but even better, I just left myself on mute as I started talking. So, one of these days I'll be able to do this show like a pro. But let's go ahead and introduce our special guest, numero uno to the show, John O'Nolan, former tattoo artist, contestant on a tech-based game show, and I guess he's spent over a decade building Ghost and shows no sign of stopping. Good to have you on, John.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's an honor
Yeah.
to be the inaugural guest.
Absolutely.
Super
We were
fun.
like, who should we have first? And Josh was like, we have to have John. And I was like, oh, I just met John at React Miami. That he seems so cool. I would love that. I was like, what are you thinking? And he's like, well, he keeps posting about all this stuff, but not giving any details. So why don't we just bring
that's
him on
true.
and then we'll make him talk about it?
Little
Oh,
insider
but usually,
trading kind of thing.
yeah. Usually kick off the show with a few updates. Since you're our guest, we'll let you slide. We won't make you go first. Josh, why don't you give us a little breakdown what you've been up to?
Yeah, this past week has been really, really fun for me. I've been kind of like
Ooh.
all into the world of how can I like automate a lot of what I'm doing in my like personal life, my professional life, and so I've kind of been just in this world of running Claude code dangerously, like the dangerously
Just like
skip all
the article we
permissions.
read. Yes.
Yeah, and I've been just kind of like asking for more help from people too. So like we have
Ooh, I love that.
Robo Josh. I don't know what that means, but we'll go with it.
You're automating everything, so you're
Oh, there we go. Exactly. Yeah. I am completely automating. Not myself, but everything else that is like, hey, here's all the things that I wish I was doing better and faster. And like just asking for help more too. I think that's like the biggest thing I've been doing like this past week is in everything. I'm like, hey, what if I didn't try to do that myself?
I
And
wish I
either,
could
like,
do. I wish I had that self-control.
I'm still terrible at it, but now it's like, okay, let me find someone to do that for me, or let me just automate it, or just like, hey, what would happen if this was automated? Even if it isn't perfect, at least I could do. It frees up my time, I think. So that's been my week. Just been kind of like figuring out what can I not do in a lot of ways. What about you, Will?
Well, what you just said has got me thinking now how I need to do that, because my week, it's like everything, as we mentioned last time, like everything's kind of just changing for me right now with the company being acquired. I am so busy, but the things that like bring me joy and the things that like make me want to like wake up every day and do the stuff that we do is usually like some like side project that I'm working on, where it's like, okay, like I'll get my job done. I'll do what I'm supposed to do there because I know I'll have like a little extra time to do this fun thing, or this like ambitious fun project. And like, I'm not having time to do any of that now. And it's just like, it's like so difficult. So like, it's just been like really busy weeks. I need to find more ways to automate things from my life so that I can get some of that back in my life. But the one that is in my life right now is working on my Laracon talk, which is coming along great, if I do say so myself. I don't know about the talk itself, but like the slides are really fun. The thing that I'm very very used to designing things is like going really well. Well, funny story. I'm in this like designers group, like on Discord or whatever, and it's like a bunch of people who are like roughly, I don't know, 1,000% better than I am at design, and so there's this like dope work channel in it, and I posted like my opening slide and was like, hey, this is like the slide for the talk I'm working on at the end of this month, and this kind of like tries to capture the vibe of like what I want the rest of the slides to kind of like key off of. I'm really pumped about it, but I want you to like tell me everything that's terrible about it. And one of the guys like he's like such a good designer. He looked at it and immediately just like exposed me. He said, this looks, he said, it looks like you're trying to be dangerous, but you're not. like it looks like you want this to feel like edgy, but it's very safe. Like you're doing this grid, you're doing like all these like these, and he's like totally just like nailed it. And I was just like, oh dang, like you got me. Like yeah, that is 100% the case. Like I wanted it to feel like this really cool progressive, like kind of like not classic design. And he's like, nah dude, you didn't nail it. Like here's what you need to think about, and gave me like really good feedback on what to do. And it got better after that, as it usually does when you actually just put yourself up to get critiqued about things. So that was a fun and enlightening experience this last week. But yeah, awesome. that's about it. Other than being a solo parent today, I took the kids to lunch, and let me tell you, me and 3 kids, 6, 3, and 1 was quite the interesting lunch. Let's just say we left a heavy tip for whoever had to clean up the table after we left.
Oh man, I feel that.
Right. Yeah, John, what you been up to this week?
Man, all kinds of stuff. We're gearing up for our Ghost 6.0 launch.
Ooh. Oh no.
Oh, I think you just muted yourself.
I think you accidentally muted yourself. Haha! I'm not the only one.
They put
it right there.
Bar?
Yeah, on the space bar. Must be.
Fuck.
Oh no.
Can we swear? Is this a family-friendly show?
Yeah, we'll go for it.
It's live. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, whatever the fuck we want. So gearing up for launching Go 6.0, it's our first big major release in a couple of years, and so it's kind of crunch time, getting everyone working together, trying to get it across the line, get everything done so we can announce it to the world, which should be fun. A lot has gone into it, and it feels like there's still a lot to do. So a lot of that, which is kind of hopping across, all the, you guys will know, many different things you have to update when you're doing some kind of big launch. And then somehow every single time you find like a long tail of extra things that also need to be updated, and we should probably do that now, right? And the list just keeps getting longer.
Oh man,
So I'm kind of in the thick of it.
Yeah, I run into that all the time where it's like, oh, I just got to do this one thing, then it's done. And then when it's done, then you have the list of all the things to do when the thing's done. It's like, no, before it's done.
It was dependent on at least 8 other things now.
And there's always like one more thing, like while we're here, let's migrate docs platforms, and while we're here, let's switch to a new support inbox help desk system, and
how much are you absolutely changing with this? Like how much of like a complete rewrite is a lot of this?
The product is adding a couple of major new capabilities.
Okay.
Nothing's been rewritten. So, and it's architecturally, it's evolved quite heavily, which is kind of cool, and it's paving the way for some more stuff we're going to be doing in the next months and years. And then website wise, we're trying to kind of, you get to that point where the marketing website is just getting long in the tooth, and every little change is like, goodness. We're like 3 Tailwind major versions behind, and there's like whatever came before Tailwind CSS system is also still in there.
Still kind of in there, yeah.
Yeah, so like pulling the docs out and throwing that over to Mintlify is an effort to, 1, improve the docs, but 2, just like make that code base a little smaller so that it's then easier to evolve beyond that. So there's kind of a lot of things like that are getting refreshed, but
just a nice little like cleaning house kind of situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of cleaning house.
Spring cleaning.
It's never the fun stuff, but it's like it's the stuff that has to get done for your like. Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't run a business, but I do a lot of the tasks. I work at startups usually until recently, and that's always the stuff that surprises you, where it's like, oh, like you're not just a code monkey or a designer. Like you're not just doing your one little area. It's like, nope, there's like a bajillion things all the time, always.
The Mintlify docs migration has been pretty nice though, because however many years it was ago that we last refreshed them, maybe like 5 years, I kind of just like ripped off Tailwind docs quite a lot,
right?
Which a lot of people did, and Mintlify did too.
Right.
So when we migrated our docs it really doesn't look any different. I mean, genuinely, like it's added a few features, it's added like AI search and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the layout and the navigation and the design hasn't changed at all, so it kind of fits in really easily. It was not very much work at all, so that was sweet.
I like that. I feel like that's the case. Like a lot of in terms of AI stuff, I think what I get most excited about, most excited, it's a bit extreme, but like I think what is most interesting for a lot of businesses is that all the things that were not worth your time to do to make quality of life things better are now like a lot easier because you can automate a lot of the drudgery that is like migrating things from X to Y. There's like a lot of that work that had to be like manually done. So you're like, man, that's just too much time and not worth it. On the other end, that is now just like a completely different calculation now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to share that one. That one's too good.
I got 2 questions for you. One comes from Jason. Do you
Taco
like
Bell reference.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell mentioned.
I think I had Taco Bell once in Canada.
Okay.
It wasn't good.
Denver. I will buy you Taco Bell.
You had Taco Bell in you had it over there in London when you were there, right, Josh?
I did have Taco Bell in London, and it was funny. I don't know if Taco Bell was listening to me, but
that was an upsetting photo. Oh goodness.
I don't know if Taco Bell was listening to me, but it was funny because I posted like about how there was a menu item that I ate in London that I was like, this is really good. We don't have this in the States. And then literally the next week, it was in the States.
I'm telling you, we need a Taco Bell sponsor for you, Josh. It just needs 100%. To happen.
Do you think the UK is like the test market? You know how like Facebook rolls out features early in New Zealand and Australia to see if they stick?
I'd be interested to know. I should probably know more Taco Bell lore like that.
You should. If you're going to be a sponsor, you got to know all the arcane knowledge.
That's a fact.
We have a question from Rob. I don't know if you know what this means, John, but John, who is going to replace Max at Red Bull?
Oh, Rob Hope's in the chat. Dreams do come true.
I know of Rob Hope because I've watched. I have taken multiple of his courses, but I have not gotten to meet him yet. So glad to have you, Rob. But I don't know what this means, John. What does this mean?
One of my all-time great friends, Rob. I haven't seen him for too long. Usually we hook up when I'm in Cape Town in South Africa, but it's been a few years since I've been back. Max is referring to Max Verstappen. Red Bull is referring to the Red Bull Formula One team.
And F1 reference, got it.
Where will he go? For anyone who follows Formula One, there's been a kind of news firestorm this week of their team boss getting sacked. And end of last year, their chief designer of the car left and went to another team. And rumors have it that Max, their 3-4-time world champion, is going to be on the move now as well. So where is he going to end up? I think Mercedes.
I know. Here's what I know about F1.
I figured this was coming.
I know the movie.
I know that a lot of people in America got really into F1 because of a documentary that came out.
Drive to Survive.
Correct. And I did not watch it. So I am not into F1. But I'm curious. Have you been? I'm assuming you've been a fan of F1 from the way you talked about it before the documentary.
Yeah, I've been watching.
Say that's the case. Yeah. So how do you feel? How does it make you feel about this? Like, maybe call them fair weather fans, or maybe trendy fans who are like, I'm a fan now because it got popular.
I think it's great. I think more people that find enjoyment in something and discover, you know, what I love about a sport, the better. I think what makes sport interesting is often not the active competition, but the stories behind the people who are competing, right? And on the face of it, Formula One is just a bunch of people sitting in a car driving around in circles for 2 hours. But that's not the interesting part. That is just the canvas upon which the story is woven. And the story is the 7-time world champion up against the newcomer who is vying for his very first championship and who doesn't care. And he's crash happy and he's going to go into the corner hard and he's not going to break. But the 7-time world champion, we love him. He's been around for a long time. And this other guy, he's just come in. He's a little crazy. He's grumpy. He doesn't give interviews. He just tells people to fuck off on the radio every time. And so you get these characters, and throughout the kind of format of these races of them driving around in circles, you get to know the personalities and the characters behind them. And I think what Netflix managed to do was they managed to capture that They managed to capture that against the backdrop of fast cars and glamorous settings,
right,
and captured the kind of hearts and minds and imaginations of people who fell in love not just with the sport, but with the stories and the characters and the jokes and the inside kind of baseball of that whole market.
Wow.
And that's what makes it really interesting is you
Okay.
watch a couple of races and you're like, yeah, the race is kind of cool, but you get to know the people and you're like, oh, this is great. This is like a character arc that I'm now going to
Right. So then when stuff like this week happens, it's like, oh, this is huge because this is like a complete narrative shift that nobody saw coming.
This is the Kardashian for dudes. And obviously it's not just for dudes.
Okay, I've got
much
like, right.
You're following an arc.
Oh man. Okay. I have now been, you drew me in there. I think I might have to start watching F1 tonight because my wife is out of town for the evening and I'm on my own. So that sounds like a perfect thing to watch because I got nothing.
Just like Jason said in the chat of like I think your single 2 minutes like convinced me, hey, I should become an F1 guy. Like,
yeah, that was good.
At least try.
I'm definitely trying it. I'll try it tonight, and I'll in my next week. I'll let you know how I
did just see the movie a couple of days ago as well.
Me too.
Oh, you did?
It was
nice,
really good.
Man, I cannot tell you the last. Actually, I take that back. I can tell you the last time I was in a movie theater. It was when I watched the Paw Patrol movie with Palmer, who was 3 at the time. She's now 6.
Wow.
And me and my wife promptly fell asleep because she was like perfectly content. It was just her. The other kids were at the grandparents, and we just were like, all right, nap time for us. You enjoy your movie.
Nice.
Awesome.
Okay.
I have one more question for you, John, before we jump into a topic. You like you mentioned you're prepping for V6 for Ghost. I imagine you've had at least 5 big versions before this. What is like one thing that you've learned that you feel like you're better at now, 10 years later, of when it comes to, hey, what should we do next kind of thing?
That's a good question.
In the context of like these big launches?
It could be
just in general,
or just
about
like
business.
prepping for big launches too. Yeah.
It all works out in the end. I think
That's a great way.
I think these big launches almost always has some amount of stress around them. You know, how are we going to migrate customers? How are we going to deal with backwards compatibility? When's the copy going to be ready for the website? How is this all going to sync up? And, you know, it never really comes together until a day before, ever. And so I think these days, I'm pretty chill about just accepting that that's how it is and not really getting stressed out about it. Versus, I think 10 years ago was this real sense of chaos. Whereas now it's just kind of the chaos is part of it. This is how it goes. There's always going to be stuff. You can't pull it all together. If you're ready with everything to launch a week in advance, you're launching too late. It should, to some extent, be like a burning wagon rolling out the door with people running after it, desperately trying to put out the last couple of fires and put the wheel nut on before it falls off. That's just how it goes. And I think when you kind of make peace with that, it's a little easier to enjoy it.
Okay. I like that. I'm going to keep that in mind because I usually over prepare. And it's usually, like you mentioned, there's also this point where it's like you spend for some things, even if you've not gotten anything out the door yet, for like a new idea, I will spend too much time trying to make it not feel like a dumpster fire that it then just never ever shows up at all. Like I lose my momentum and I shift to something else before I even get across the finish line sometimes.
You can also make it worse, right? It is possible to overcook things, especially design.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that. There's definitely a way to over design and overthink it. All right.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you brought to the show, John. What have you brought for us? A link, a topic,
links, or
whatever
topics?
Whatever you want, man. Which one would you rather talk about first?
Guest choice.
Some of them are kind of related, so we can just kind of weave some shit together here. I think topic wise, like what's definitely been top of mind lately. Hard for me to think about much else at the moment.
Okay, I've got a question. Vibe coding. Okay, do you when you say vibe coding, do you mean actual vibe coding or do you mean like AI assisted coding? Like, do you mean like
See,
I don't look at any of the code and I just YOLO whatever shows up on the screen and then I try to use it, and if it doesn't work, then I just ask the magic box to try again? Or is it more of like like I'm a professional, I'm approaching this with like a scalpel versus like it's a magic genie?
It's somewhere in the middle. It's such a fuzzy line, right? Everyone has a slightly different definition of vibe coding. There's the I never open the file, I just ask the magic box for things and a UI comes out. Extreme end. Definitely not that. But equally not I'm code reviewing this with the rigor of collaborating with a human being. For instance, I have on my main project right now 12,800 and something tests.
What's your main? Just for the audience, what's your main project right now?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. I haven't even read any of the tests.
Heck yeah! If there is a thing that you should not have to ever read when AI writes, it should be tests. If you can run them and they pass, I'm good, bro. I'm fine.
Yeah, until every now and then I'll see just like the diff of a test file fly by and you're like, wait, why the fuck are you testing that? What's going on? What are you testing? You're testing that A is not equal to B? What's going on? Stop this now. So it's somewhere in the middle, and it's going so quickly. The capabilities of what is possible now for me individually, but also more broadly, is just so insane to me. And it's very, very exciting. I mean, I think there's someone who I won't name who tweeted yesterday like a GitHub chart. And it was like, here's everything our team shipped in the last 30 days.
Right.
And it was like 1,000 commits and it was quite maybe 30,000 lines of code change. I've done 3 times that, just me, in the last month.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Like the amount that I'm doing and able to do.
Right.
Is crazy. So
that feels a little insane sometimes. Yeah.
That's where I am with it. I brought a link that kind of speaks to that. That's by a guy called Jeff Huntley. Where did we post these? I mean, I sent it to you already, but do you stick these in the chat or something?
Yeah, we'll take care of it. You're good.
It's the it's the AI version of good old Aaron Francis. You can just do things. But with an AI flavor, and really the case he makes, and this is actually a post from February, it's not like a super recent one, it's just one I had bookmarked because I thought it was particularly good. The case he makes is that
yes. Okay, I actually know exactly what you are talking about here. All right, pasting it in the chat for y'all. Actually, that's not it. Or I don't know what that is. Oh, it's like the Twitter link to the thing. So I'm going to get the actual link for y'all because that's garbage.
I'll put it in right now.
Perfect.
He makes the case that the future belongs to idea guys who are willing to completely upend their workflows and see AI as a completely new way of doing things. And I like the way he's written it. You know, it's not too maximalist, it's not too minimalist. It's like, for me, it strikes the right balance of how to think about these things.
Right.
And so that's, I don't know. I could talk your ear off for an hour on this topic alone, but
do it. That's what we're here for. Because
what are you guys doing with it?
here's my here's some thoughts that I've like had about it, which is just like I saw somebody post this whole thing where there's like some company that made some kind of like scientific research of some sort that said people are actually less productive with AI. They had people who didn't use AI and they measured output or something, and they had people with AI measure, or like, I don't know what measurements they used, but it just got me thinking about it, which is just like, kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about removing the barrier to entry to things, which is to say, I think that there is a case to be made that you might actually be slower on the things that you're using AI for in some cases than you would if you just coded something, you were working on something that you didn't have AI to help you with. From like the perspective of, I think when you don't have AI, what do you choose to work on? You choose to work on the things that you have as the highest priority, but are also things that you know you can do, that you understand, and you of course, like because you have the domain expertise, you can fly through something as a good programmer when you know what you're doing and you know like the full scope of work to be done. What I think AI does to a lot of decision making, kind of like this article talks about, is just like it throws that initial decision into a completely different like path where it's like, okay, because I think I can tackle something harder or I can tackle something I don't fully understand, I'm going to like dive into this topic that I don't have as deep domain knowledge on. So like it might take a little longer than the task that you have the full domain expertise on, but it's way faster than if you tried to take that on without any assisted help. And so like to me, it's like opening the doors to, yes, I may do slower work sometimes, but it's because I'm taking on work that I never would have thought I could take on before.
You know what it makes me think of? I think studies like this are very silly. Borderline ridiculous. I think it's like if you went back in time to when computers were first invented, they fill a whole room, there's a server rack, and you've got a bunch of punch cards. And there's a bunch of people going, wow, these computers are so incredible, they're going to change the world.
Right.
You're computing, it's like a huge calculator. And you time those people at basic mathematics tasks.
Yeah.
In putting a punch card into this giant machine, and you think it's powerful and you think you're so much faster, but actually, you know, if you had just followed what we taught you in school with lines and carry the one and add it all up, that's in fact much quicker. And you might be true on a micro level, but on a macro level, you are not seeing the wood for the trees. You are not seeing the broader point, which is not where the technology is now, what tasks are being done with it right now, but what is the trend? What is the trajectory? Where is this going next? What does the skill of knowing something about computers give you 12 months from now, 24 months from now? And what will you be able to do with it then?
Yes. That concept, like that idea is just like what I love most about this like shift that's happening right now. It's just like people being willing to try something they didn't think they could do before and getting to see all the cool stuff that comes from people who like had ideas but never thought they could make those ideas a reality. It's so exciting.
That's me and Laravel, by the way. Like GPT.
What do you mean you and Laravel? What are you building in Laravel again?
Yeah, okay.
I
Fine,
don't remember.
Fine. So I've been messing with Laravel since like 2015, but I always got to the same point with Laravel. So I'm primarily a designer and front-end developer. And
so on again, off again relationship, if you will.
Yeah, and I can reason my way fairly far down the stack comfortably, particularly in terms of understanding high-level concepts. But then when we get into fucking middleware and request routing and, you know, the guts of where things start to get rather abstract and the logic chain starts to get hard to follow. And there's just a syntax error you could get stuck on for a month and you need to read 3 books to understand what it is. Eventually, I would always get to some point like that, and then it would just be I'd be out of my depth and I wouldn't be able to keep going. But around GPT 3.5, I could start solving those problems by asking questions. It wasn't coding for me, but whenever I got stuck, I could copy, paste, and be like, hey, what the fuck do I do now? And that would that unblocked me. And so ever since then, I've just been kind of going ham on Laravel project. I've found that AI is very good at Laravel because it's been so stable and so well documented, and it's such an opinionated framework that there's not a million ways of doing things. There's like 3 or 4, and everyone kind of chooses one unless situation X, and then you do one of the other ones.
Right.
So I've just been going nuts. I've been doing like side projects, small things. I think that's kind of where I started. And then more recently, I've been solving a problem that I've wanted to solve for 12 years of Ghost that was out of reach and impossible. And prior to now, I think would have cost me millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And is currently
color me intrigued. That was a fantastic way to introduce this.
So, if you are building a SaaS business, usually, so you're using Laravel, doesn't really matter, whatever. You're building a SaaS app. People sign up. You got a bunch of customers. Maybe there's tens of thousands of customers. You got a bunch of people using your thing. What are you going to do next? Who is your top user? How much are they using the product? What's going on with it? Is this feature getting adopted? Pretty easy to find out, right? You just have a look in the database. You write a query, it spits out a report, sort users by number of likes, number of posts, whatever it is. But when you make decentralized distributed software, which is not one code base with one database, but every single customer has a new instance of the app with a new database in its own container, completely isolated. You really can't get a sense of what anyone's doing, who the top customer is, who's the most active user. How many monthly active users are there? Not a clue. We have
That's interesting.
had 30,000 plus customers for many years. Many more, tens of thousands more sites than that. Within those sites are hundreds of thousands of users who are logging in using the products. And within their sites, they have tens of millions, hundreds of millions, tens of millions at least subscribers and members. What's going on with all that shit? Well, we've got 30,000 MySQL databases, and doing a join across 30,000 MySQL databases is not really a thing. So we'll never know, I guess, was the answer.
Right.
So,
I feel like we need like a drum roll, like sound effect at this moment.
The first thing we did a couple of years ago to try and solve this, like of the sites that we host, where we have, access to all the databases, we just don't have any tooling to find out what's in them or to understand what's going on with our customers. We built a stats service that essentially goes and fetches some data, dumps it all in one big table and, well, a few big tables, and then it lives there. So at least, now you've got data extracted, it lives somewhere. And then we kind of tried like hooking up Metabase to it so you could sort of take a look at it. But if anyone's ever touched Metabase before, you will wish that you hadn't.
Not fun. Not fun. Been there, done that.
Nothing fun about it. And then all the data's like this raw, it's just stuff that's come straight out of a MySQL database. It's not in any usable format. You can't browse it. Anything you click takes an hour and a half. Long story short, I built a Laravel custom CRM with an API that ingests data from our private databases about our customers, goes out to the World Wide Web and hydrates that data with whatever it can find, say like Alexa rank, Ahrefs rank, Open rank, Twitter data, Facebook data, social data, pulls in as much as we can figure out about a website from its publicly available metrics combined with private metrics. And now I have a way of seeing who are our top sites, which ones are getting the most subscribers, which one's getting the most growth, which are the ones that we should be prioritizing, which ones used to log into the products a lot but now haven't logged in at all and might be slipping away, and maybe support should reach out to them. There's like 1,000 more use cases that connect to it, but it's essentially this box of an app that I can plug anything into, either data sources or use cases or admin dashboards, API endpoints, and find out how should I be thinking about the business as a whole? How can I understand what the customers are doing within the products? How do we use this data to help support teams in doing customer support, or product teams in planning what to build next, or which customers to go and talk to about getting beta feedback, or marketing teams when they need to get a testimonial that they want to put on the homepage? How can we connect all these different pieces together? Now, the app with AI, quite easy to build. Yeah. But it's the complexity of the number of different things it does, I think would have, prior to maybe a year ago, taken a team of 3 to 5, 6 to 12 months. That's $1 million. Like, and 2 months with Claude Max, anything's possible. So that's like my baby project at the moment, my main one, that I'm spending a ton of time with, and I'm just continually blown away by how easy Laravel makes all of this, because of how many of the conventions are just solved out of the box. This has been done before. You're not the first person to try and do, scheduled jobs or emails or batch processing, like any of this stuff.
Not to mention incredible people like Aaron Francis, who like also does a ton of like weird automated stuff with Laravel that you can poke on, and Josh, who does great videos. And I mean, Laravel has like one of the best, not only like because it's so old, mature maybe is a better word, because it's so mature, like AI is so great. AI is just like fantastic for like its ability to like understand what you're saying. Like there are like 3 or 4 good ways to do this, and it has a much better, easier job of like figuring out a good path forward. And then when AI is not great, there's like this incredible community with like Laracasts and all the smart, friendly individuals in the community who want to help.
Yeah.
It's also the stability.
Yeah.
Because if you go back 3 years in JavaScript, whatever it was we used then, we hate it now. Fuck that.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's garbage. It's absolute trash.
Laravel 3 years ago.
I can't believe you're still using that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool that you say that you started like with GPT 3.5 with Laravel, because that was around the time that I also like started building my first applications with Laravel too. Was like, hey, I don't know, like I literally don't know what a job is. I don't know what batching is. I don't know, what queues are, because that doesn't really exist too much in the JavaScript world. Like you have to really dig if you want to do all of that in Node kind of thing. And so I like would copy all my code to ChatGPT, copy it back and forth. And that was like the first real app that I built within Laravel, like my first like SaaS project kind of thing.
What this idea makes me think about?
Was it?
Professor X, he like goes into his little room with a little like bridge, and it's just this giant room that makes him like extremely sorry. Like that just like you're making, I don't remember, it made Cerebro. I think it's called Cerebro or something. Like you're making Cerebro. You're making this like giant brain. Brain or whatever. Sorry, Josh. All right, your project.
No, I was just thinking of like how that kind of like kickstarted it, but at the same time, kind of like what you said, John, it's like there's not too much that's changed. Like even like current modern AI, I think like the only major things that it gets wrong is some like when it comes to like scheduler, like it doesn't do like the Laravel 11 like app service, but even that is like slowly with things like MCP servers and stuff like that. It's usually able to improve upon that when Laravel 10 came out, or Laravel 11, I should say. But with that, what tools? So you couldn't have built this a year ago, you said. Mm-hmm. But so that leads to like, what is your preferred process? Like, what tools? Emmett says, what tools are you using to Laravel vibe code? Like, how did you write double what you said? Like, so around like 60,000.
Yeah, some crazy amount.
It was 90,000 additions and 20,000 deletions in the last month. That's in one repository. I have more than one.
Just one. Not a big deal. Just one repository.
This is the main one. So it's more than that. So the answer is it changes constantly. So the answer today will probably be different if you ask me a month from now, and it was different a month ago. But today it's Claude Code, exclusively Opus 4, usually embedded within Cursor, like within the Cursor terminal. It doesn't really matter where it runs. And then usually 2 or 3 of them in parallel. And then one thing that I think is a bit of a hot take. I think anyone who's unconvinced by AI coding hasn't tried Claude Code and Opus 4. Because
like
I've spent a bunch of time, even in the last week, I was like, I should try all the tools again in case one of them's like overtaken and gotten better. And so I went deep into the latest codecs, the latest Gemini. I didn't try the new Grok, all the O3 models, through Cursor, through Claude Code, through the new Gemini CLI, through the new Codex CLI, through the GitHub Actions web interface, all of it. Nothing touches Claude Code and Opus 4. It's just no competition. And if I do any of the other ones, it's a world of frustration. It goes around in circles. It deletes all my fucking roots, and then it can't run the tests, and then it doesn't understand why it can't run the tests. But Claude, Opus, my goodness, it's unbelievable. It's if you hit the right balance of how to describe a feature, and the right balance means how much fidelity do you describe it with. If you describe it with too much detail, the agent won't be ambitious enough. It will just kind of go and do exactly what you said. It could do so much more, but you're not seeing it because you're giving it like a little cookie crumb. But if you ask it to do too much, it goes nuts, right? And it gets stuck and it ties itself in knots. So you have to learn what the right size of task is. And then when you notice it, either if it's getting it in one shot, you've usually done something too small. You've given it way too small of a task if it gets it right on the first go. And if it immediately ties itself in knots, you've gone too big. And so you kind of just have to constantly adjust to find the right spot. But I would say to anyone who's like just played with these things a little bit, ask for bigger things than you would expect, because often it will surprise you with an implementation that just blows your mind. And like my best example of this is, so this customer database I've been working on, right? I wanted to write a ranking algorithm for it. And the idea is that I want to have a bunch of data about customers. I want to aggregate all this data and then give it a Google, effectively like a Google rank, so I can have an index and order, so that when, let's say, a support ticket comes in, we go, it's from customer name that you've never heard of. That's customer number 23. And then you go, oh, that's our number 23 most important customer. So now when that ticket gets escalated, the whole team just talks about, oh, this is an important ticket. It's number 23. Versus if a question comes in of like, oh, it's customer number 23,482, maybe it can wait till Monday. Like, we'll get to it. It's chill. So that was the idea. So my prompt, because I didn't really know where to start, like I said, I want to have this algorithm, and I want it to rank customers. I want it to take into account, like how popular their domain is, which is sort of like an estimate of how much traffic they get, as well as how recently they've used the product, how many of the features they've used. So if they like leave the default text or the starter welcome post, that's like a bad thing. But if they've written more than 10 posts, that's a really good thing. And I kind of just described it like that. And Claude goes, cool, I can help you with that. First, let me write a CLI tool that will test how the algorithm works and allow us to evaluate changes. It then went and wrote a Laravel command that would have a dry run feature where you could run this ranking algorithm and see where customers rank now, and based on a change made, which sites moved up and which moved down, and by how many places. Then it started writing the algorithm, and at each step of a change it made, it would run the CLI tool that it just wrote itself to evaluate its own work and decide whether or not the thing that it wrote was good or not. Now, had I given it a prompt of, I want you to write a ranking algorithm that works exactly like this, in this order, with these weights, I never would have had that, like,
I was going to say, I bet it wouldn't have thought to do moment. That.
Yeah. So you have to, every now and then, you gotta like, let it go off and see what happens.
That is so interesting.
That's really interesting to me, because I think in some ways, you kind of mentioned at the start, you're like, hey, the reason why Laravel never clicked was like, I was more of like, I knew the big picture stuff of this is what needed to happen, but I was more like a front end dev, like a designer. You're thinking of like, what is the actual output, the actual outcome kind of thing. And I think so many people, especially maybe Laravel developers who have been building Laravel for so long, know like, hey, this is exactly what I need. I need this like service provider. I need this command. I need this particular batch output. And so most of the time we're telling AI like, hey, do this way. And I even fall into this too, where like, hey, I need a command to do this.
Yeah.
And it just writes the command. But sometimes maybe it's not a command that I need. Maybe it's like a scheduled job, and I'm just not thinking that high level in a lot of ways. That's really interesting.
It's a lot of fun.
That does sound like a lot of fun. Oh man, now I want to do more projects. This is what I'm talking about. I need more time. I need to schedule.
I'll tell you a good cheat code related to this that I just learned today, which is technically I brought this as a link, but it's got a twist. There is no link because Claude Code apparently don't publish their changelog, so you sort of have to rely on like undercover information that people leak on Twitter. They have just made it possible for the GitHub Action Claude Code thing to use your Max subscription. So if you run / install,
I was going to ask about that. I was like, you have some like incantation that you sent us.
Yeah, so you go into your repo, you run Claude, it pops up the Claude UI, you type / for a shortcut, and it'll autocomplete. It's install GitHub or install GitHub repository. You run that, it will then PR itself into your GitHub repo to add a GitHub action, which will run Claude in a GitHub action. Then on any GitHub issue, you can say @Claude fix this issue, and it will literally start like responding to your GitHub issue, open a pull request, and then you merge it. Good. But what's cool is you can also just attach like GitHub action, install PHP, Composer install, npm install, npm dev, and have it run the whole test suite after it has fixed everything, or write new tests, or do everything. Now, before you could do all that, but it would cost you extra because you have to put in a Claude API key. Now you can just run that install command, and even if you've already installed it, it will go and update the existing one, and it will use your existing Claude Max subscription, so it's included for free.
Interesting.
And then there's an extra cheat code in here, which is there's this 5-hour window of your limits with Claude Code.
Yeah.
So when you send a message, okay, so you send a message on Claude Code, you have 5 hours of API limits, and then they reset. So if you go opus after 3 hours, and then you're like, poof, no more AI for you, you're just twiddling your thumbs for 2 hours.
Go to our lesser models. Good luck. So
the time window starts from when you send your first message in a 5-hour window. So if you send your first message at 10 a.m., it runs to 11, 12, 3 p.m. Then you got 2 hours of the working day where you're just kind of screwed. So if you set up another GitHub action that opens an issue and tags Claude at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., 3 hours before you wake up, you have this extra, you're preloading a limit window that wasn't available to you before because you were asleep.
And doing no work for like a couple hours.
Wasting potential tokens. So then you can wake up, burn some tokens as hard as you can, window resets, now you get to go through to 5 p.m. And so I've got a GitHub action that now runs every morning and fires that off.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Which is like... That optimization makes no sense unless you're like going hard.
Yeah, unless you're like a heavy user, which a lot of people are. Let me just say, having guests was our best idea, Josh. This is so good. You are. This is so good. Oh, I pity every guest who has to come after you and live up to this. This is fantastic. Okay.
See, I did not know about so I knew that there was this time limit, and it's every now and then it would tell me, hey, this resets, because I haven't gotten it to work well in Sonnet, for example. Once I'm done with Opus, I'm like, we're done. Like I'll just code by hand by now, or just like copy and paste into, something else kind of thing. But I did not know it was 5 hours. So that's really helpful. And like
from
reset
the moment you send your first message. Yeah. And you can't track it anywhere. So you have to just like know when it is.
Know. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. You have to vibe. No, you're
pretty much. It's vibe limits.
Vibe limit. I like how you said
they're really taking this vibe thing a little too far. Like, no, we do need a few things. Could you help us out here, Claude? Like, it'd be nice to have a few metrics to track.
I like how you said you need to utilize every single token that you are paying for.
Oh,
so it's literally ours.
It's not even every token I'm paying for. It's every token that I could have, right? I'm greedy with these tokens. Yeah. I want them all. Because if Claude Code costs $2,000 a month, I would pay it without blinking. It wouldn't even be like, where's my credit card? That would be preloaded. If it cost $20,000 a month, I would seriously consider it as a business expense.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when you've got, I think there's definitely different levels to it, but it's like once you've bought in and you're a business, this is what they talk about with like when you're building SaaS businesses, like that's really not that much to a big, and you're big, like you've been around for over a decade. Like Ghost is nothing to sneeze at all. Like you're the real deal. So it's like, businesses like yours, if it brings these kind of optimizations.
Well, also you got to think humans are expensive, right? Like you look at an engineer salary for a month.
Would you have hired instead to get the same amount of work?
Definitely. Oh, at least.
And they definitely didn't cost $20,000.
No. And for the scale of what I've got going, at least 3, maybe 5, and I think it would have taken much longer. And that's no comment on the ability of humans to do good work. It is just the reality of what's possible with human fingers on a keyboard with
I think
one
it just
brain.
goes to there's something that I've like started kind of like understanding lately, which is just like more people does not mean you move and you get more done. Like it does in some sense. Like there are some things that you need a team of like really smart people to work together, more than one person, to solve some types of problems. But there's also like a whole host of problems where like having more people just makes everything more difficult. Like we a small team of very highly skilled individuals backed by tooling like this can move way faster because you don't have the overhead of security and like all the enterprise workflows that go into big businesses. Like once you get enough people, you have to, it's a people problem at that point where you have to like build in tooling and process and workflows that slow you
Yep.
down, that you don't need when you have a small number of people, even if you may have a huge capacity for work. So it's just like, man, this is just such. I think there's a lot of people who you are on this end of this. You can't see it, but like way off the screen over here, this is you. You're on this like end of the spectrum of like having gotten familiar with the tool, spent time doing it. Whereas I think literally majority of everyone is like even over here where they've just tried it one or two times and thought, like cool, like cute. Oh, that's cute. Like that was neat how it did that thing, but they've not actually like tried to leverage it for like a big business problem and see what all it could do. And also to like what you mentioned, one thing you mentioned, I have problems with this because, and it might just be like you're in a position to where like you can do this a little better as an employee. There is a feeling of urgency that I can't get over the hump sometimes of being like, okay, if I put a bunch of effort into figuring out how to make this work, I know it will make me faster at some point. But until I really get to that point of figuring out the workflow and the way to phrase things and the way to talk to it and to work with it, it's like I'm under the pressure of like, well, I've still got to get things done. Whereas like maybe you're the CEO founder person who can kind of say like, oh, it's okay if I take a little while to get this thing done because it was never going to get done otherwise. Like I wasn't going to prioritize this, but like I can spend some time knocking my head against the wall with this tool. It's interesting. I think that says a lot to people. Like it said a lot to me, which is just like get out of the grind mindset, the employee mindset, because like there's so much more that I could potentially do if I
think so.
put the effort in to like I use it a lot. I probably use AI assisted coding a lot more than most average developers at this point, but I still don't come anywhere close to the way you have talked about it for sure.
Yeah. I think it took me maybe 2 days of that kind of process to get used to Claude Code in the first place. And I ditched it after one day because I was like, this is nonsense. This makes no sense. And it's because I was using it in a terminal outside of the code editor. I hadn't run the /IDE thing to connect to the editor. I hadn't got Shift Enter working because you have to do like a little config thing for that. I didn't know anything about / commands that like where you can sort of save these snippets of prompts that you use again and again and again. And I was like, this is bad. This is just cursor but with no UI and it's slow.
That's the way I think about it.
And then I just read one really good post. I can't remember whose it was, but there's a million of these on YouTube and on the internet now of someone saying, no. Load it up in the terminal inside VS Code or inside cursor. Run /IDE to connect it. So now it can actually talk back and forth to your files. Set up a couple / commands, which means you're not typing the same prompt over and over again. You're just using shortcuts. And then you realize, and this is just conspiracies, but cursor, everyone says it binds a lot of models together, right? So you select Opus 4, but what you're getting is the cursor pipeline to Opus 4, which may include like submodels to handle like your high level question. And then eventually at some point you get Opus 4, but it's filtered through like many layers of models. And so if you want to raw dog Opus, the only way to do it really is Claude Code. You're not getting any man in the middle. You're not getting any like jiggery pokery cost saving that Cursor's trying to do to try and keep your bill up and their bill down. You're just getting the real thing. And then you start to notice the difference in the output. Like, oh, actually, it's not just a UI difference. It's more capable. It's roaming my code base and finding something immediately and understanding everything seemingly with very little processing time. It's not going around in loops and creating the same bug and like fixing it by creating another bug and going back and forth. Like it's not doing that anymore. Yeah. And then the unlock is like, oh shit, this is a new thing. Yeah. So it's worth it.
That leads me to
go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, it leads me to a quick question then, kind of like a twofold question. What would you say is like a good, like for people who are either like listening or like, hey, I don't know where to start with Claude Code, or two, how has the things that you've improved, like kind of like those / commands, stuff like that, when you start a project, and or when you start a feature, whatever that might be, what are like the things that you're thinking of so that you don't dive into, hey, these are the specifics, but you also aren't too general. You kind of had there's this sweet spot. What do you think through? What's your process in order to find that sweet spot?
Yeah, good question. So it's twofold. I think on the technology side, any AI model, when it starts to work on anything, the first thing it does is it goes and it tries to understand the context of where the hell it is, especially Claude Code, right? Which is basically, what directory am I running in? What currently exists in this directory? So if you are starting a new project and you open, new directory, you dump Claude in there and you go, hey, I want to make a Laravel app that blah, 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 blah. It's going to go, what's in here? Nothing. What do I know about Laravel? Something. All right, let's go. And it throws a bunch of stuff in and off you go. Maybe you get lucky, but in my experience, it's hard to get lucky when your starting point is a completely blank canvas. So what I like to do from a technology standpoint is I like to give it a set of, if you will, lines on the canvas to color within. So I'll do my Laravel new, with WorkOS, with Inertia, with React. I'll set up all my kind of preferred packages already there. I'll kind of probably stub out a README or a Claude.md with some kind of project overview that I've thought about or I've already kind of chatted about with an O3 model that sort of lays out what my intentions are. And they'll be high level and vague, like we're making an app, it's for pet sitters to schedule, whatever it is. And once I've kind of got the Hello World's version of it going, which is not much work, right? We're talking half an hour.
Especially with an incredible framework like Laravel, where it's like
exactly
one command and you're basically 80% of the way there.
Then I know this is the bones of a starting point. If I was going to work on it myself, this would be a good starting point.
No.
Then I go to Claude and I say, read the README. This is what we're working on it. Have a look at the code base. You'll see that it's a Laravel app. Here's the first thing we want to do. Maybe describe a feature. And that little setup alone, I found puts you 10 steps ahead of most people who might start in an empty directory and just ask for something and then get a very non-deterministic output, which simply means not repeatable. Every time you do it, it'll be different. That is not what they wanted. But they didn't say what they wanted, really. So if you can kind of give it some indication of what you want, I think your results are a lot more reliable and less deterministic, more deterministic. They're more consistent if you were to do them again and again. So that helps a lot.
Man, okay. Well,
That's
I
awesome.
literally have a project for Laracon that I've been working on. I've shared a bit of it here on a previous episode, but I've got like 2 or 3 features left in it, and I'm going to try this playbook. I'm going to dive into Cloud Code. I'm going to get I've already got, it's a Laravel, React Inertia app. I'm going to add a little Claude MD, give it some color, which I think I could do even easier now that there's more code base to kind of reference when talking through it. And I will report back.
I'll give you one more thing to try. I tweeted this a couple of days ago, but if maybe some people didn't see it, the one other hack that works really well is you ask Claude to plan something. You say, I want to build this feature. I want you to plan it out. Write the plan in a markdown file. Claude's got a built-in planning thing. Don't worry about that. Just tell it to write the plan in a markdown file. It's going to write you a plan like, here's how I'm going to implement this feature. It's going to have a jobs. It's going to have a queue. We're going to have a command to invoke it, all this stuff. And you say, thanks, Claude. And you kill it. Just close that terminal. Claude's gone. Save the markdown file. Open a new Claude and ask that Claude to review the previous Claude's plan. And Claude number 2, almost without fail, especially if you ask it to call out any signs of over-engineering, will dramatically simplify that plan. It will take the bones of it. It will understand what the point is, but it will scope it way down and turn it into something that is actually going to be a good result. And then you kill that Claude. Boom, that Claude's gone. And Claude number 3 gets to work on it. And Claude number 3 looks at the plan without the prior context of the bad plan, because you don't really want that in its memory.
Right.
And then you start going. And people, you can get different results by having different AI models review the same plan, that kind of stuff. But you don't have to. A lot of people spend a bunch of time going back and forth on planning with Claude and trying to give it feedback. Like, you don't have to give it feedback. You're not that smart. You know who's really smart? Another AI model. Get another AI model to give feedback. See how far they can go before you get involved.
That's really
That
funny.
was royal you, by the way. You the human, not you.
Yeah.
No.
Right. We love the royal we, the royal you. There's that cracked me up when I saw that status. The take him behind the shed
Yeah.
imagery just cracked me up. Oh my goodness.
That's awesome.
Okay, that's
Love
awesome. All right. Well, I will report back based on trying these facts in the next show probably, because I've got to get these last few features done in this app. So my Laravel talk.
You're gonna be demoing this on stage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, live demo.
Be there. I could see it.
You are gonna be there, or you're not?
Yeah.
There we go.
It's gonna be fun. It requires audience participation, and I'll share what that is gonna be when I want it to be a bit of a surprise. So
this is giving me flashbacks to React Miami already.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a kind of guy. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we're almost out of time. So why don't we wrap this up? How about John? You start us off. So now that you told us everything that you're kind of working on, what is like the thing that you're looking forward to like next week? Either something you're working on or just like something that you're like, hey, I need to try this. Maybe it's a tool, project, idea.
There's a guy. Sorry, guys, this is all just AI nonstop. But that's kind of
I love AI.
What's
what's
that's
there
what
for me
we
right now.
bring on guests because we care about what they're into, and if that's what you're into, we want to hear about it.
I found a guy on Reddit. This is unverified information. This is from Reddit.
Ooh, okay.
He claims to be running 4 instances of Claude Code in 4 terminals.
Okay.
In VS Code. He assigns each one of them a role. So one is architect, one is planner, one is implementer, one is QA, if I remember correctly. And that's not that novel. People have done that before. And you kind of, one does one thing, one does the other. But no, this dude's done something interesting. He gets all 4 of them writing to one shared work file to communicate with each other. So they leave notes in the same file, note who last updated it. Then the other ones are reading that file and following the instructions that it gave. So all 4 are working on the same problem at the same time in parallel and intercommunicating with each other through the shared medium of a markdown file. And Reddit Bro 759, not his real name, claims that this is working incredibly well. So I'm really excited to give that a try next week.
I cannot wait.
See if it's true.
Better post results on Twitter whether it works or doesn't work. I want to know.
Yeah, that gives me like both like old school / futuristic vibes at the same time, where it's like, hey, let's have like 2 telemarketers talk to each other at the same time on a phone. But like also like very futuristic too, where it's like, hey, why don't I just have like all my AIs that are running everything just talk to each other, make sure that
sometimes there's nothing better than just mixing a bit of new technology with like an old format. It just works. Some things just have worked for a while, and there's a reason.
I'm gonna try that with my projects. I'll jump in next. Like I've been working on. I've kind of said I've been working on learning like Expo. So like as a front end Expo app with a Laravel API. And right now it's kind of been like I have one Claude in a mono repo that has the API in the back end. But now that you said that, I want to try like running just start with 2 instances. One that's in the API, one that's in the Expo app, and they're communicating in the same file. That would be interesting to try. I also do want to like make a video, little shout out for myself, I guess. My editor AJ said this: between this and Josh's upcoming video about AI tools that I'm releasing tomorrow, I'm convinced to try Claude Code. So I have a video that's coming out about like how I use Claude Code and everything else. But now I want to make a video about your flow, John, and just like say how far deep can we go?
Oh, it's like this is even better because now you have like an original video and you can have like it got better video right after. It's gonna be like
I made Claude kill itself meme. 8 times kind of thing.
It's like one of my favorite memes, the Obama meme where it's like Obama's giving himself a medal. That was Josh just now.
Just like imagine just like a thumbnail of like Claude, shooting itself behind the shed, so but it's like 8 versions of that. It's just like recursive.
There we go.
That's
Turtles all the way down.
Yeah. How far? What is the sweet spot? 5, 6, 7 times, just like killing himself.
The world needs to know, Josh. Find out for us.
Oh yeah. What about you, Will?
I have got to wrap up this Laracon talk. I had a great chat with Chris Sev and Hank this last week, and they did a really good job clarifying some like high level ideas of like, they're like, this talk is great, but here's some ways that you could kind of tighten it for the audience that's going to be there. And I was like, this is fantastic feedback. And then I'm going to meet with Chris again next week to just kind of like go back over those things that we talked about and just kind of really tighten it in. Laracon is going to be so good this year because like Chris Sev is doing this with every single speaker, and John Rudolph Drexler, which I can't help but say is like an entire name, but John, he did Laracon EU, and his talk on like product management was so good, and I was like, man, his talks are so good. Like he's just a really good speaker, and he said that he posted about his talk with Chris, that it was like, oh, he just like made it so much better, my talk so much better, and I'm just like, if even like one of the better speakers in the group talk is getting better because of this process, and every speaker's getting to go through this, like it's just going to be such a solid conference. So
yeah, I love that. All right, John, where can people find you to learn more about what you're doing, or just like follow you for more like Claude Code kind of stuff? Do you have a Claude Code like maybe like a an affiliate link that you can plug? you might make a bunch of money right now.
I wish. Don't give me money. Just give me tokens.
That's what they need to
That'd be a
do.
great
They need to, like
affiliate.
lower your like refresh limit. Like
it would so
you got
work.
bumped down to 4 hours now because you recommend so many people.
That could be both a Black Mirror episode and a great affiliate program. I'm John O'Nolan in all the places. Wherever you are, I'm probably there. I probably use like X, Twitter, whatever it's called these days, the most, particularly for Claude stuff and shit posting. But you can find me almost anywhere if you're curious or want to say hi.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, this was an awesome show. Thank you for coming on, John.
Yeah.
Thanks so much
for saying yes.
Y'all been great as always. Loved having y'all here.
I'll see you both soon.
See you next time.